here's Brody Brazil.
For the sake of perspective, and also to avoid any confusion here, let me quickly remind you that a former mayor of the city of Anaheim was recently sentenced to prison for his involvement in the scandal surrounding a potential sale of Angel Stadium to the baseball team. That obviously never happened. It never went through, largely in part because of an FBI investigation which revealed what was going on, which obviously got some people in trouble. That has nothing to do with the current mayor, who also is now making headlines. She wants the Angels to do a lot of different things, start negotiating with her, number one, but also eventually wants the Angels to change their name back to being called the Anaheim Angels. This was a letter, a public letter, an open letter to Angels owner Arte Moreno and the Angels baseball staff from Mayor Ashleigh Aitken, Esquire, mayor of the city of Anaheim. Now, it is a lot of details here. There's a lot of text. I know that's very small on your screen, so I just wanted to show you the letter, and now we'll break down exactly what she said. Like so many who grew up in Anaheim, spring in our city means opening day. Anaheim summers means sneaking away to day games and enjoying peanuts in the sun. With hope and luck, fall brings postseason in the ballpark. My love of America's pastime is not atypical. That sounds like a novel. It's very crafty, very intricate writing there to begin this letter. My relationship as mayor with Angels ownership is the source of a lot of speculation, but honestly, we don't really have one, like a relationship. I want to change that for the better. As we embark on a new season of baseball in Anaheim, by the way, yes, this letter did come out on the Angels' home opening date, I want to reiterate that Anaheim believes Angels baseball belongs nowhere else but in Anaheim. Past councils and the Angels have endlessly quibbled over vague, nearly 30-year-old lease terms and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees. I am not interested in relitigating the past. I welcome the chance to come together to talk about the future of Angels baseball in Anaheim, guided by and respecting the process that has been laid out for us. Other major Anaheim corporate stakeholders have already shown a way forward, working with the city on terms that benefit everybody. Basically, that's to say that Anaheim as a city has worked with other large entities and companies similar to Angels baseball, but just has not worked it out with the Angels, our stakeholders and residents alike. I know the Angels would like to do the same. My goal is simple. Let's have an open and honest conversation about the future of baseball in Anaheim. Key starting points include, but are not limited to. And so here's where it gets interesting, right? So we've started out this letter by glorifying baseball in summertime, and then we're kind of getting straight to the point. We don't have a relationship, or at least I, as mayor, she says she doesn't have any kind of background or history with the Angels or Arte Moreno, but maybe there is some of that. More on that in just a second. And now we're getting to essentially what the mayor is wanting here. Now, usually it's a team spelling out the demands. Usually it's a team going to a city or a county and saying, here's what we want. This is interesting. This is kind of proactive, but maybe a bit reactive. Again, I'll explain that later, that the city is going to the team to say they want these things. Number one, establishing trust through a straightforward, good faith relationship. Well, I mean, these things rarely ever work out like that. If you go back on recent history of sports teams and cities and counties, there's always a little bit of friction there. Full access to the stadium for inspections and an open exchange of information. Yeah, apparently the Angels haven't been exactly doors wide open to the city to take a look at the stadium in terms of what it needs. And I believe the stadium is owned by the city and is leased to the Angels for $1 a year. But basically the Angels have not made it easy for the city to come in and figure things out and do their work. There literally has been tension even at that level over all of this. Again, the Angels have been trying to buy the stadium and the land surrounding it. There was a deal in place for a very, very sweetheart deal number. I mean, it was a very low number, and that's why things fell apart, and that's why there's a former mayor going to prison over this. Going through a public process and ensuring we meet our obligations under the Surplus Land Act. Essentially, government can't sell land like this to somebody like a baseball team unless they go through a very detailed and specific process. And it's not to say that the Angels couldn't qualify, but it's not necessarily going to just be that easy. So they want to do it the right way, is what the mayor's saying here. Conducting community outreach around what the residents envision for the property through surveys, community meetings, and stakeholder engagement. All right, basically to say that, well, we want the Angels to do what you want to do, but we also need to make sure everybody's cool with this. Providing the community with regular updates focusing on transparency and partnership. Again, these are all optimal case scenarios, and I appreciate them for being spelled out and laid out, but to kind of set out the ground rules of here's how we're going to have our relationship, I don't know, does that set an interesting tone? Quite possibly. Committing to include a local and skilled workforce, both in any stadium improvements and long-term staffing through a community work agreement. All right, that one seems pretty doable from both sides. Investment in the city of Anaheim's residents in their schools, parks, workforce training programs, affordable housing, and open space. Essentially, you can't develop this land. If that's what you're going to do, you can't just do it all so it makes money. There have to be some community benefits to this entire process. And acknowledging the greatness of Anaheim's history and its contributions to Orange County by recognizing, and in all caps here, this is the way it was spelled out in the letter, Anaheim prominently as the team's location and partner. Let me say that again. By recognizing Anaheim prominently as the team's location and partner. So not the California Angels from when I was a kid, not the Los Angeles Angels or the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. It sounds like she's saying quite clear. The mayor would like them to be called the Anaheim Angels. I look forward to the home opener at the Big A. Angels baseball is an important part of our community, and I hope we can work together to ensure this legacy continues. And so the Angels responded to Bill Shaken of the Los Angeles Times. And I screenshotted this, as Bill did, which looked to be literally a text message, like an iMessage. And so Bill put this out on social media. This was the team's response. Quote, "We appreciate Mayor Aitken's letter and the desire to strengthen the relationship between the city and Angels baseball. We look forward to opening day at the Big A and the future of Angels baseball in Anaheim." I know. We're missing like any kind of response to anything that was said. It was almost like yeah, okay, see ya. Interesting, right? I mean, a response felt necessary, I suppose. The opposite would be, well, no response. I think a better situation would be, okay, well, you don't need to put out this today. Give it a beat. Give it a day. Give it a weekend. Do it on Monday. But maybe that looks disrespectful. So I don't know what the perfect thing to do is here from the team. All I do know is that this seems dismissive. This seems like, yeah, we read it and we're moving on. We have no comment. And I guess maybe the team could read the tone of that letter or the way it was phrased out, and maybe they have some objections to that. I don't know. Long story short, that's interesting, right? That's their instant response. And then the mayor also had this quote in an article by Bill Shaken, again of the LA Times, covering this whole story so well. Regarding that Anaheim name, here's what the mayor's quote was. "That will be a fair part of discussions, like in negotiations, for the Angels to continue trying to buy this land." That's what this is all about. The Angels want to buy this land still and develop this and improve the stadium, remodel the stadium, and obviously do a real estate deal around it. "I've always been an advocate that the Angels should have the city's name at the forefront, especially considering that that property, like where Angel Stadium sits, is our largest asset. That is something that is a high priority for me." So it just goes to show you, if you think she's only moderately being serious about the Anaheim name or putting that last in a list of things or just kind of sneaking that in as kind of like a shot in the dark. No, I mean, it truly seems like the mayor is really trying to get this to be part of the future of Angels baseball, to change the name. And in terms of the value of that site, yeah, it's tremendous. Right off the freeway, look at all that land. You don't see that in Anaheim or Southern California proper. You don't see an opportunity like that. It's got its own exits. I mean, it's public transportation nearby. There's a train station. You can see Honda Center at the very top of the screen there. So all this going on and all this opportunity, this blank canvas, which for 60 years has just sat there and never been developed like they want to do it now. So they want to do it the right way. They want to do it with the right people. That's why the city knows that they've got kind of the leverage here. They've also seen how a deal, kind of a sneaky sweetheart deal, started to come together a handful of years ago and then fell apart because there was some corruption going on behind the scenes. Anyways, just want you to understand why there's such a conflict, and I don't want to say a fight over this yet, but this is a big deal to get this right because there's a lot on the line. In terms of my takeaways, number one, I respect the mayor's initiative. I respect that she would come out like this and say, hey, we don't have a good relationship. We don't have any relationship. I want to start a good relationship, and I'll detail some pretty straightforward things that we should both be agreeable to. Let's start there. But it also kind of feels like there's already something bad brewing. And I thought I saw a quote from Arte Moreno a couple months ago already saying that he wishes there was a mayor in office who supported Angels baseball, and they don't have that right now, and a city council that's not very favorable. So I don't know what kind of rift there already is, but it seems like the mayor doing this, and publicly too, right? Normally this is a behind the scenes thing. You just write a letter to Arte Moreno and company and send that same letter and don't do it publicly, like on opening day. And so she's trying to get this attention publicly. She's trying to have the conversation in public, out in front of everybody, which I think is a good thing to do. But maybe you could start that conversation in private and then advance it in public when both sides are kind of agreeable to having the conversation. Again, as you could see, the Angels' quote in response was kind of like, we're not agreeable to even having this conversation. So it kind of gives me the feeling that they've already tried to do this and it didn't go well. So this is the mayor's second attempt. The name Los Angeles versus Anaheim as the team's name, let me just say it like this. I think the main reason Arte Moreno wants Los Angeles is because it instantly ups the valuation of that baseball team. And that's not a knock against Anaheim because that's their home and that's where they play and that's where their fan base is. But if you're selling that team ever, or if you're valuing that team ever, what are they worth? Well, certainly carrying the name Los Angeles and the TV market and the amount of people in the Los Angeles metro area, it just sounds bigger than Anaheim, even though it still is what it is and that doesn't change. Anyway, it's one of those things. I guess I can understand why, if you're the Angels, you're reluctant to change that. Although, should it really matter for a baseball team that has existed 60 years or so, playing in the same stadium in Anaheim? Like, already what it is. It is a Southern California-based team. They're not in Los Angeles. They're in Orange County. They are in Southern California. I've always thought it doesn't make sense to call them the Los Angeles Angels, right? California Angels would be better. It's like Golden State Warriors. They play in San Francisco. They used to play in Oakland. The point is, it's fine to have an even generic name, but to call it something you're not, that's kind of weird. The Angels are currently paying $1 a year. No, don't read that as $1 million a year, because some teams do have $1 million a year lease. That's $1 a year lease. And that's just not sitting well right now, I think, for the city of Anaheim and local government to say, wait, you've been already getting a good deal on a lease, and now you want to get a great deal on purchasing the land? So I think a fair price in any kind of sale is going to be imperative here. That exists, and I also think the Dodgers are kind of a factor. Obviously, they are running away with attention and spectacle in Southern California. And again, Los Angeles and Anaheim, two separate areas, two separate fan bases, and the Angels seem to draw well. They're drawing less well now than they certainly used to. They haven't won in like 10 years or more. They don't have Ohtani anymore, and look who they lost Shohei Ohtani to. So the point being here, I think there's a little bit of a sour feeling surrounding the Angels right now, and sometimes winning cures everything. If you're a good team on the field and you're running a great business and everybody likes you, all right, maybe we will cut them a deal better and easier. But instead, I feel like the Angels are kind of in an uphill battle because of their neighbors across the way. So the big takeaway here is that the mayor wants the Angels to be called the Anaheim Angels. The team still wants to buy the land. The team wants to get a good deal on this. The mayor is saying we got to do this the fair way, and it doesn't necessarily sound like she's going to just be extremely flexible and give them whatever they want. In fact, quite the opposite. It sounds like she really wants to have some structure and framework to any kind of conversation. She wants to have the conversation, but I just don't know if the team is wanting to do that. They have a lease for a handful more years, so there's nothing urgent or pressing on their part. I think they're probably trying to play this out a little bit longer to figure out the situation, but it's something to pay attention to, right? Like the Angels Stadium situation, it is an issue. And they have fixed up the place. It used to be multi-purpose with the Rams and Angels. Then they made it baseball only. They made improvements. It's in a nice spot. It's got a nice climate, nice weather. So I don't know that there's too many complaints other than it's not new. It's not making a ton of money being surrounded by a village. And so some people want to change that. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. Also, thumbs up while you're down there. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. Subscribe to this channel. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.